come into a community, feel like they are a part of the community, and everything from going to the bank and being able to speak with someone who speaks the same language as them, or going to the schools and have someone speak the same language as them is welcoming, right? You can say welcome, but if someone doesn't feel like they're a part of the community, then you're not really doing your job well.
Welcome to me is a very warm word, and it's how you treat your family, your friends, your neighbors, so they feel comfortable wherever they are. And I think it's really important in Marion. It's one of the things that I love our community, because it's a very inclusive community, and our organization, the Marion Chamber, as well as our staff and our board of directors, really want Marion to be a welcoming place. And so 2 years ago, when we moved our office to 1077th Avenue, which is right across the street from City Square Park, we opened a welcome center as part of that move. And it's to make sure that not only our residents, but visitors, new people moving to our community, can get a sense of what Marion is like and learn more and about what the community has going on, and also find opportunities to get engaged and participate. So that's what welcome means to me.
Welcome to me means like accepting everybody with like open arms, and like regardless of like disability, where they're from, or whatever language you speak, without a doubt, and just like moving on and like making them feel home.
For me, it's kind of a two-word what meaning to me. Like, first, it's welcome, and when someone says thank you, a lot of times people will say that, yep, or where I like to hear them say you're welcome. Unless you're at Chick-fil-A, then they never say you're welcome, they say my pleasure. So regardless, I'm a man of manners. I like hearing the please and the thank you and the you're welcome. As for welcome, I agree with the panelists. Just letting someone know that they're included, that hopefully they're gonna feel at home. In addition to getting to be a Marion police officer, I also get to work Iowa football games, as Jill may have mentioned. And anytime, and I think I'm up to 105 football games I've worked now since 2006. And when I see the visiting team, like a fan, like last week was Utah State, every Utah State fan I saw, I would say, welcome to Kinnick Stadium. Because again, you want them to feel that this is a good place. You don't want someone to feel on the outside looking in or not feel welcomed. You want them to feel part of the environment or the atmosphere of the community, whatever it is. You just want people to know that, hey, this is a good place for you to be, and we're going to make sure that that stays the same. Back to you, Najee.
Perfect, thank you so much. So I guess our next question, we're going to go to Jill. You had actually also just briefly mentioned the Welcome Center, but the question is, how does the Chamber of Commerce collaborate with local government and other community organizations to create a welcoming environment, specifically for immigrants, and to align their goals with the city's broader development objectives?
Thanks, Angelica. So, as you mentioned, we did move our office to 1077th Avenue 2 years ago. We opened a welcome center. We kind of already talked about that, but the Chamber also works with the city to do 10 free community events throughout the year. And we don't charge admission because we want it to be accessible for everybody. We want as many people to attend as possible. The 10 free community events that we do are Christmas in the Park and Peppermint Walk, Chocolate Walk, which is a retail shopping event. We have 4 free music events that take place right on 7th Avenue called Uptown Get Down. Those are the four Thursdays in August. We do 3 summer farmers markets as well as a fall farmers market. And those events are certainly like at markets you can go to buy things. The music events, you're there to listen to music, but it's also a great way to join your neighbors and other community members and truly get to know them and build community. So that's another way that we partner. One other thing that we do is every 10 years, we do a community-wide visioning process in Marion, and the Chamber leads that work. And basically, we reach out and we ask for community outreach leaders. So you don't necessarily have to be a resident of Marion, but basically, it's anybody that's interested in preparing for Marion's future. And we ask those community outreach leaders to go out into the community and conduct brainstorming sessions. And we're asking residents what they want to see in their city in the next 10 years. And then from there, we appoint basically a selection committee. And the first time we did it, it was called Imaginate. The second time we did it, it was called ImagineX. The first time we generated around 1,800 ideas. The second time it was over 3,400 ideas. And that selection committee narrows down the list of ideas until we get to a number that's kind of feasible for us to start executing. And then out of those community-wide visioning processes, we got the Loud Park Amphitheater, which you can peek out the window and see. We also got our new library, our new YMCA. You like the new library and YMCA, they are awesome. We're gonna be building a plaza called the Central Plaza. It's gonna break ground, I think, this month. It's gonna have a refrigerated ice loop in it so you can ice skate in the winter time. Upgraded restrooms, public art, some really cool playground equipment, water features. And I feel really fortunate to live in Marion because our elected officials really listen to what the residents want. And that's something that every single one of you has the opportunity to participate in those community-wide visioning processes. Offer your ideas. You've seen so many other things, especially people from different countries that have moved here. Things that are cool where you're from. We'd love to incorporate those kind of ideas into our community. So that's just a few ways that we work with the city and also alongside with other nonprofit organizations to do some really cool work in Marion.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Jill. So raise of hands if you have been to the new Marion Y. Quite a few of you. What about the Marion Library? Awesome, amazing. Well, if you haven't been to the Marion Y yet, again, Doris teaches a Zumba class and she's a lot of energy. What time is your Zumba class?
Mondays at 6:30 p.m., Saturdays at 10 a.m., Fridays at 10 a.m.
Yeah, so a couple of different times you can check out their website because I know the Marion Y has an incredible website that has all of their classes listed. So if you want to break a sweat after you do some of that out here today and you think, oh wow, I really want to do that, check out the Marion Y. And actually, the other reason I mentioned that is that's the raffle prize or the door prize for participating in today's panel discussion. And just so you know, I'm going to ask a question of each of our panelists, but then there will be an opportunity for any of you to be able to ask questions. So if there are questions that you have on your heart and your mind that you would like to ask, be holding on to those, and then I will open it up for discussion afterwards. So our next question goes to Abass, our student here. You left your homeland to pursue studies here in Iowa. Can you talk a little bit about what that cross-cultural journey has been like for you?
So I've been here for like about 9 years. But when I first moved here, I'll tell you, I didn't honestly like it. I'm a people person. Like I found it hard. But when I first moved there, middle school, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to start. So like everything was kind of hard. But then like I just fought through it and made a lot of friends throughout the way. And like especially, he was one of my besties in high school.
Officer Daubs is everyone's bestie. Let's be real.
I also ran into Mrs. Gears. She was like a librarian, but she helped me with a lot of stuff, like with getting to college, like trying to keep me like up. She had me to stay accountable for all like the things that I did. So I went to her for like almost everything. She was kind of like a second mom to me. And then she also invited me to like the rec center. I met Doris, and I did some Zumba, and I got yeah. And but yeah, moving here, the challenges that I felt was like I didn't really have nobody really like my mom. She didn't know much about like America, so like in order for me to like get around, to move around, I had to like ask questions with a lot of like things that I didn't know about. So like. That was the only way I was able to like do anything that I could do, because without like people around, like without the Marion community, like my coaches in high school, like just about any like older person, without them like answering the questions with like open arms, I don't think I'll be in college right now, or like be at the same spot I'm at right now. So a huge thanks to everybody that I've met on today.
Awesome. Well, let's give a round of applause for those adults who helped you out, I definitely have a quick follow-up question. Those of us that are here in this room and everyone else in the community, what can we do to help people who are recent new residents to Marion? Like, what can we do to help people such as yourself?
I believe Marion is a good place to live, like compared to Cedar Rapids. Sorry. Like I think Marion has all the resources, but like for like the main thing, I feel like as a community we can do is like if you see anybody like just walking out or like you met somebody at the store, just say hi, spark a conversation. They might like need some help in like learning about things that you like need help with, like. Let's just say they have a kid in high school or like middle school or like trying to go to college. They don't have the resources like I did. Like I had Mrs. Gears. She helped me with my paperwork. She did almost everything that my mom did not know about. And I'm really thankful. So I said, as a community, we should just be open to like just helping people out. Just spark a conversation, like start up or like, hey, how's the day going? How are you doing? And I think Mary as a community does a really good job for that compared to Cedar Rapids. Yeah, I think just like start the conversation and just like helping them out because most people are like are afraid to like ask questions. So if you see somebody just looking lost or something like that, the best thing to do is just say hi, start, and then move on with that with a conversation.
That's such a great answer. Thank you, Abass. I think we could say hi and welcome to Marion. Right?
That's right.
Oh, perfect. And I was just going to share a little aside. I actually do talk to random strangers in the grocery store. So if you see me at the store, I will probably say hello. But I've met some actually close people. As it turned out, this individual I met at Best Buy, it was the Best Buy in Coralville. His wife was best friends with my cousin growing up in Samoa. So it was ridiculous that would happen. So you just never know, right? Like the stories that each of us carry with us. So do step out of your comfort zone if you're able to, and just say hello and welcome them to our community. Our next question is for Jessica, who again is with Cedar Rapids. So we'll try to make sure that we give Cedar Rapids some love here today. But Marion is one of the cities in Iowa which welcomes many people from different countries. Most of them don't know their rights and responsibilities. What should be the best approach for civil rights organizations and communities to help positively grow our great community of Cedar Rapids and its surrounding cities?
Thank you. So I'm just kind of going off of what he said at the Cedar Rapids part, but as a former ELL teacher, we were never just ELL teachers. We were family support and all the other things. And so once I got my job in the Civil Rights Commission, what I realized was if we want to get the word out to our refugee population, immigrant population, one of the easiest ways to do that is through the schools. And so I made sure that I was in every single middle school and almost every single high school in the Cedar Rapids area last year, and then I've started to go into elementary schools as well. Because if you empower these students with their rights, then they can bring that home. And that's often because, in Liberia they speak English, but in a lot of my other refugee students spoke Kirundi or Swahili and things like that, and their parents would use the children or the adolescents as translators, so they would be in those situations, the housing situations, the doctor's offices, things like that. So if you had adolescents who were aware of what their rights were prior to going into those situations, then they could help their parents understand their rights. So that's one way. We really focused this year on getting into the schools. The second way is just making sure that we're partnering with the people who are already partnering with the refugees and immigrants. So for example, we are partnering with Capital McCauley Center because they have really help out the refugee population. We make sure that all of our information is in translated languages for the people that are in our community. And then we are also doing proactive things, for example, in our housing we go in and we do testing. What that looks like is we have one person who speaks one language and another person who speaks English. We go and try to rent a house, and if we get different answers, then we can investigate those a little bit further. So we can do those things. Those are proactive. And then the reactive would honestly just be our investigations. Anytime someone comes to us and they say, hey, we feel like you've been discriminated against, then we do the investigations to help out the community that way.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Our last question that I have already pre-planned goes to Officer Daubs. And this question is related to some of the cultural norms for people who are coming from different countries. In situations where these individuals might unintentionally violate local regulations or laws due to differences in understanding, how can law enforcement mitigate miscommunications and foster prevention?
Thank you. Unfortunately, crime happens, and that's not something we'd like to see on a daily basis, but when you have a cultural issue where someone's not familiar with what the laws are in a certain land or city or municipality, that can sometimes create kind of a divide or a conflict. As police officers, we like to use one of my favorite words, respect. If people would just respect each other and realize that we're all in this community, we're all in this together. Now, sometimes when a law is broken, the officers have a choice but to make an arrest and take someone to jail. That doesn't mean that's the first thing we want to do. Ideally, that's the last thing we want to do. We would much rather use it as a teachable moment and explain, this is what happens if this happens, if you do this, then this can happen, whatever the case may be. Now, with our justice system, the county attorney's office or the district attorney, whatever you want to call them, they have the final say on whether it's something that goes to trial or not. It could be where an officer had to make an arrest because maybe in a country where they're from, it wasn't against the law to assault someone or to hurt someone. Well, here you can't do that, that's against the law. So it could be something where at the county attorney's level, they could say, yes, that was an offense. We understand you didn't know that. Moving forward, if you do it again, then we will try this and we'll go to court. So it could work from there. So anything that we can do as a listening post, or if someone has any questions about our community versus where their community they're coming from. It was just explained to me recently where, I believe it's in Mexico, if a police officer stops a person, the first thing you do is you reach into your pocket and you pull out money because the officer is going to expect a bribe. That's not how we do things here. Little fun fact, if Amber, my good friend, offers me money to not give her a ticket, that's a Class D felony for her. If I take that money, that's a Class C felony, so it's worse for me to take it. But again, if somebody doesn't know that, and they stick their hands in their pocket, as a police officer, the first thing they're going to say is, hey, get your hands out of your pockets, because we don't know what's coming out of there. They're assuming we're going to want money because other officers around the world might expect that. So we would just say, no, in America, you just keep your hands out, and then the officer will go from there. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm not aware of, and just like she was speaking about ELL, for English language learners, I grew up in this country, I grew up speaking this language, and so I try to put myself in their shoes. What would that be like if I was in Mexico City or Paris or Germany and I don't know what the words they're saying? And so being in schools, when you interact with students that don't have English as their main language, you try to realize that, respect that, what can I do to help them learn this language, and do the best you can, because again, we are a community, we're all in this together. But with the legal aspects of it, I wish every law was the same all the way across the world. It'd be easier to explain and enforce that way. But when there are differences, you try to work through them, explain them, and answer questions. But like Patrick Swayze said in the movie Roadhouse, be nice. Until when? Until I tell you not to be nice. But be nice all the time. That's my takeaway.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. Is everybody writing down these Daubisms? Because these are gold.
There'll be a DVD afterwards.
Yes. Perfect. Well, thank you all again for answering those questions. Now is an opportunity for you in the room to ask questions of all of the panelists or any one single panelist. So are there any questions? There's got to be at least one planted out there. I didn't plant it, but at least one person? Yes.
Well, when I was teaching EML, one of the situations talking about interactions with law enforcement, some of our students don't speak any English at all. And so with the hand in the pocket, that's, it's so hard. And I just, I think we need to work on how do we convey that to explain to an officer that I don't speak any English at all.
And that's a good point. Sometimes there's like apps on their phones where they can do like, oh, sorry. There's an app where you can get like a translator, and if I'm saying this, then they can understand what I'm saying. And it is somewhat challenging at times. And I think for the officers, a lot of times is just be a little patient. Don't just rush to judgment. Don't start screaming at someone because they put their hands in their pockets. Just, oh, whoa, whoa, can you please take your hands out? But if they're not understanding the words you're saying, that's a concern as well. You just want to make sure that the matter's being handled as best it could with any way you can communicate that or translate it, whatever the case may be. Great question. And before the next question comes up, we were just talking earlier before this, and back to our community stakeholders, everyone involved in the community, it's not me, it's we. So you take that M from me and you turn it upside down, it's we, the community is we. So there's another Daubism for us. Threw that in for free.
Oh, nice, nice. That's what the part of the blooper reel?
Yes,
I don't
yes,
know.
the bonus track.
Bonus track,
Yeah.
perfect, awesome. Yes, what's your question?
So how do we bridge that gap with parenting from different countries where they're trying to raise their kids as they've always known, but it seems like when they come here from other countries, they almost get that right stripped from them when it comes to, I've seen it in my own eyes, where they can't necessarily do as they've done in other countries. Now that they're here, there's a law that they have to abide by. However, a lot of their kids, I've learned, because I worked with kids for so many years, where they don't, they're kind of running rapid. And I know this is not just reference to the officer, but to anyone that's on the panel on how do you help parents to parent from other countries so that they're not losing that right as a parent. Because I've seen some parents from the country, they're trying and realize there's only so much they can do. Before, and I'm speaking for kids because that's where my passion. So there's only so much they can do, and I've seen a lot of our kids from other countries, unfortunately, die from violence or locked up, for 25 years now, all because they weren't brought up that way. Once they came over, it was like the parents, they don't know what else to do with some of the rights that they have with their kids.
Yes, we'll have thoughts and then Justin.
Oh, like my mom always said,